Yo, what is up? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about tips for solo players. This is my most requested video and I really want to try to squeeze this one out before the server slam, which is tomorrow at the time of recording this, and it's already in the afternoon. So yeah, we got a lot to go over. Let's try and get through it as quickly as possible. This is by far the most common question I get. Where are the tips for solo players? Why does everybody only ever talk about trios? And I can actually answer that question real quick before we get started. It is because this game is designed and built from the ground up for and balanced around the trios game mode. You are not getting the maximum marathon experience unless you are playing trios, and specifically playing trios with like-minded gamers. Random fill into trios does not count, okay? You want to have a crew set up ahead of time that you're build crafting with. You're saying, okay, you're running this shell, I'm running this shell, he's running this shell, we are planning to synergize, this is how our play style is going to work, this is what our game plan is, this is what we do in this situation. This is where the depth and fun of this game really shines. I'm going to link down in the description a very common LFG Discord from the playtest that we used to use to find gamers with the same kind of play style as you. You know, if you're a competitive gamer or if you're a more casual gamer, you kind of want to find people that will match your energy, that you will have the most fun with. I would definitely play solos over playing with randos any day of the week. That having been said, with that out of the way, let's jump into some actual solo tips for when you do jump into the solo game mode. First off, let's talk about which runner shells you should be bringing into solos. All right, first and foremost, let's talk about the assassin shell. This one just makes the most sense for most people, right? Solos by its nature is exponentially rattier than trios because you don't have two teammates supporting you. People are playing a little safer, a little bit more scared. They're less likely to just charge into a POI and start shooting all of the bots and players that they see on site. They're going to want to be a little bit stealthier, be a little bit sneakier. So the assassin shell obviously makes sense for this. But by far, the majority of the shells that you're going to see in solos are going to be the assassin shell. That having been said, every single shell is viable in trios. Assassin, Vandal, Destroyer, and Thief, they obviously make sense because you're going to be able to win fights and get out of bad situations. But even the two support shells, Triage and Recon, the main weakness there is that they don't have those movement abilities, but their kit is definitely still strong in solos. Let's take Triage for example. His prime ability, which is like a remote resurrect for your teammates, can also be used as a heavy damage dealer. If you fully charge this and then come around the corner and blast someone in the face, I'm not even sure if this has a limit to how much damage. I've never seen anyone get hit with a fully charged Triage ult and not get knocked. So it does a significant amount of damage. And with Recon, although she's probably the weakest shell as far as solo play is concerned on the surface, you got to remember that she is the best shell in the game at hunting down assassin shells. Like we said, there's going to be a very large number of assassin shells. Recon has a pseudo buff from the meta in that situation. So like I said, all of the shells are technically viable. Whatever shell you feel like playing, you can absolutely play it in solos and find success with it. All right, let's get into some actual tips for you guys. And the first tip I have is about laying a trap to initiate a PvP fight in a solos game. So like I said, solos games are much rattier than trios, and you're going to have a lot of stealth assassins just kind of sneaking around, these little rats hiding all over the map, and they're going to be waiting and listening for audio cues to pounce on people and third party them. And you are going to lay a trap with these audio cues. The main audio cue I'm talking about is gunshots, right? So you can just pop out enough gunshots, maybe shoot both of your different types of guns to make it seem like either two players are fighting or somebody is killing some bots. If you want, you can even actually kill a few bots. So use this to your advantage and lay the trap. Try to get those rats to come out after you rather than going out and trying to find all of them and root them out of the little cracks that they're hiding in. You just fire some gunshots off and bait them out into the open. All right, the next tip I've got for you is when it comes to extracting in a solos game, I recommend you treat it a little bit differently than in a trios game, right? In a trios game, your team triggers an extract. You guys can just stand up and post up and defend that extract for the duration of the countdown. But in solos, you're alone. So I highly recommend, even if you're triggering your own extract, that you run away and hide and treat it as if it's somebody else's extract that you're trying to sneak into at the last second, because this is the safest way. And if you dive in at the last second, even if somebody knocks you, as long as you can get into that extract and not get fully finished by the time it pops, you're going to get away with all that sweet loot. So when extracting in a solos game, yeah, I recommend you be extra careful to make sure that you do not fall short right at the finish line. All right, next tip I've got for you revolves around Claymores. And Claymores are already powerful in trios, and in solos, these are even more powerful because as soon as you get a knock with a Claymore in solos, if they don't have a self-revive, they're just done for. They don't have teammates that can pick them back up. So even if it's like across the map that you've got the knock, if you go back, as long as you can find the body, you may have just netted yourself a bunch of free loot just by planting a claymore down in a good spot, right? And when it comes to high value rooms, like if you're doing any kind of key run of any kind, you're going to want to be bringing at least a couple of claymores so that you can lay some traps, because it's the one thing that even assassins can't get by with their stealth, right? Claymores will still go off, and unless they have some sort of ability to disarm a claymore silently, you're going to at the very least get an audio cue that somebody is trying to sneak up behind you. So it can buy you a nice big window to just relax and chill and just loot to your heart's content until you're ready to move on. Yeah, hopefully some of these tips will help you hit the ground running in solos, but just remember, solos is a higher risk, lower reward experience than trios. So I once again want to try to convince you to hit that LFG up down in the description, or however you want to do it, find some like-minded gamers and give trios a shot. That's my bit on solos. If you guys got anything out of this, please hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you want to see more of my future content, and any questions you've got, drop them down in the comments below. I read them all. I'm happy to get back to you, or maybe even make another video just like this one. Thanks for watching. My name is Philibus, and I'll catch you in the next one real soon. Peace.